Dear black people, stop confusing court jesters with generals. Once again, dear black people, stop confusing court jesters with generals. We must stop worshiping, idolizing these weaponized celebrities, in particular these black celebrities that are meant to distract, deflect, and disregard the real agenda of what should be for black folk. I always call it the mailman theory, right? We got to stop this thing about cult of personality worship and following. Mailman theory that I came up with is basically like when your mail person, it could be a mailman or mail woman, comes to your address, delivers your mail to your mailbox. Do you follow said mail person on his or her route to their home to find out who they really are? They could be a gambling degenerate. They could be a crack whore. They could be very abusive towards their spouse or children. They could be just a very unflattering person. But is that their job to show you all that, or is it their job is to deliver your mail? You follow them on your route, or you go to the mailbox, get the mail that is meant for you, aka the message that is meant for you, discern important mail or junk mail. So you got to look at these people that you see on your TV screen, on your iPhone screen, Android screen, or whatever screen. They are not meant to be your leaders. They are there to serve an agenda. It may be an agenda for your own good. It may be an agenda against your best interests or wishes. And I like to let y'all understand that stop worshiping these weaponized celebrities. Stop confusing court jesters with generals. Malcolm, check out this YouTube clip from his UC Berkeley interview back in 1963. Or maybe it was 62. It was back in the early 60s. He talked about how black folks were programmed to be the only group of people who will follow comedians, singers, dancers, trumpet players. Now, he did mention Baba Dick Gregory by name, but you got to understand this, because we got to study our history. Baba Dick Gregory was inspired to get into the movement by the late, great Medgar Wiley Evers, a World War II veteran, field secretary for the NAACP Mississippi organization. He met Medgar, gave up his blueprint career, which went to Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby acknowledged that he got the career that was meant for Baba Dick Gregory. Baba Dick Gregory thought he was going to die with Medgar down in Mississippi back in June 12th, 1963, but he was called back home because he lost his namesake. His son died, sudden infant death syndrome, and Medgar told him, you need to go back home to be with your wife. They both thought they was going to die together. You know, Medgar wasn't long for this world. He was just 37 years old when he was taken out in front of his family. But Baba Dick knew his role was to be a fundraiser as well as to raise awareness about the commitment of Medgar Evers to the freedom struggle for our people. Dick knew he was a soldier, not a general, but a soldier in the cause that was meant to raise awareness as well as funds. Matter of fact, in 1963, when the Kennedy administration, the federal government, cut off aid to the black people down in Greenwood, Mississippi, because they dared to register to vote, Baba Dick Gregory, with the help of Hugh Hefner, chartered several planes full of food and supplies and all types of things for the black folks in Greenwood. He did this several times on his own dime, time, and resources. This act, or acts rather, directly influenced the formation of Freedom Summer 1964. The organizers of Freedom Summer 1964, even Bob Moses talked about it on the Freedom Summer PBS documentary, that he said they were directly inspired by the example of Baba Dick Gregory chartering those planes full of supplies and foods and whatnot for the black community in Greenwood, Mississippi. Another example, when the Kennedys wanted a black spokesperson for their cause, a celebrity-like figure who had national recognition and respect from the so-called black community, they reached out to none other than Harry Dale Belafonte, right? And they said, well, Harry, we want you to represent the Kennedy family, JFK's bid for presidency. Help us get that black vote. And Harry Belafonte said, I'm not the man to help you get the black vote. The guy y'all need to get the black vote is suffering on a Georgia prison work camp about to be assassinated. The man in question was none other than Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was in a prison farm, work camp, working on the chain gang, whatever, but they was going to assassinate him. And Coretta was rightfully concerned about the welfare of her husband. So the Kennedy campaign made a few calls and got Dr. King out of that situation. Now, you had none other than civil rights baseball icon Jackie Robinson, who was a staunch Republican, who was campaigning for Richard Nixon. He begged Richard Nixon to do the right thing to get Dr. King out of that situation. And he didn't do it. And when he found out that the Kennedys did what Nixon would not do, he knew what that meant. And then they said he allegedly cried, "You just don't get it. You just don't understand, man." I'm just ad-libbing, but they said he cried, he was frustrated. Jackie Robinson, that's another thing. But there you go. Harry Belafonte knew that he was not the leader of the struggle. He understood who was the figurehead or the leader of that respected struggle. Harry Belafonte spent a lot of his adult life doing the movement, raising awareness and money for Dr. King and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and for the movement. He knew his role. He knew he was not the spokesperson for the movement, but he used his platform to spread awareness and support for that movement. So if you see celebrities not doing that, they cannot be trusted. Like I said, don't confuse entertainers with being revolutionaries. They're court jesters, and that's no disrespect, but we got to understand the dynamics at play here. And we got to do a better job of researching the history. Because you do have people like a Muhammad Ali that comes every once in a while. I mean, Kaepernick, the kneeling is something for another segment. But I cannot put Kaepernick in the same league as a Muhammad Ali. Neither can I put LeBron James in the same league of Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali stood up for something. Like when they drafted him, he was not going to face any frontline battling. He was not going to go on the front lines. He probably been just doing some boxing exhibitions, USO tour, doing some stuff, but he had a moral compass. He had a sense of who he was. You understand what I'm saying? And he understood the political game that was played because his career was started by white businessmen in Louisville, Kentucky, but once the business side got into the ownership of the Nation of Islam, that's when the draft board and all them started coming after Muhammad Ali. He had white privilege protection for the majority of his early career. But think about it. This brother sacrificed prime years of his career. He sacrificed almost 4 years of his career as heavyweight champion. Okay, you can make the statement that Kaepernick sacrificed 4 years of his career prime. Maybe, maybe not. But Kaepernick had a multi-million-dollar parachute from Nike, golden parachute from Nike and other places, right? So what I'm saying is, we don't even talk about Paul Robeson, who lost his passport. And they crucified Paul Robeson. And he should be talked about more often in times like this because before Malcolm was trying to bring up human rights violation charges before the UN, it was Paul Robeson and some of his people like William Patterson. They were trying to do this back in the 1940s. They coined the term called menticide. Menticide. Look it up, boys and girls, scholars and laymen, ladies and gents, wokish and the sleepish. Look that stuff up. So I'm just trying to give y'all some information to go on. And by the way, Malcolm X learned how to do public speaking by mimicking Paul Robeson. He used to listen to Paul Robeson on the radio, even while he was in prison, to learn how to be an effective communicator, and speaker. So y'all can look that up. Take a look. It's all online. Just dropping a dime. We all be quickie from Brother Ron. And know that we love you all madly. Keep thinking.